Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I am your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this very episode, we're going to be breaking down all 15 fights from UFC 271, headlined by Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. And just a note, at the end of the video, I will be posting my picks for this. I'll just show you my pick sheet real quick. So yeah, you have something to look forward to at the end there. So, like I said, let's get into it. First fight of the night, Jeremiah Wells going against, we'll just call him Blood Diamond, Mike Mathetha. Mathetha, I don't know how you say his last name, so Blood Diamond it is. Blood Diamond has no UFC fights. He is 5'11", 73-inch reach, switch stance fighter. This is going to be a welterweight fight, you guys. In fact, I'm not going to get into the measurables. You can kind of take a look at that. I'm also hopefully going to be putting my stats online. So you have access to all of my stats. This exact sheet that you're looking at, you will have access to. I'll do that for all 15 fights. I don't know if I'm going to do it on maybe a little Patreon, you know, a couple bucks a month or something like that. But hopefully you will very soon have access to all of my stats. Shout out Hector at Capo. Let's get going here. Jeremiah Wells, $9,100. He's coming in $7,000 over his previous, or sorry, $2,100 over his previous $7,000 salary. In his one UFC fight, he did score 4.79 points per minute, and he only gave up 2.12 points per minute for a huge differential. 2.67, has a gigantic value in his last fight, 13.77. He did score 96.36 points, which was good enough to make the optimal in this case on that night. No stats for Mike, for Blood Diamond here. Let's see. Jeremiah Wells also a decent, actually he has no losses, so never mind. This is just the average floor for the division. Probability to make the optimal, the weight class, the welterweight weight class has a 45% chance to make the optimal. The #1 fight is below 48%, and we just got it last week, I believe, with Malcolm Gordon. So I would not be expecting this. You know, the probability says this is not happening again this week. I do like Wells here, big time favorite for me, but that's just because I have no stats. This is the one guy I have no stats for in Blood Diamond. Wells put up, like we said, over 90 points. All of them were, well, not all of them. He had no points from takedowns, but 1.16 control time points per minute. Pretty good there. Let's see, what else do we got? Not too much from this fight. 16.4 striking points in his win, Jeremiah Wells. Some overall stats, he lands, you know, probably a little below average, 3.82 per minute for the division. His significant striking defense is 11.76%. That has to be extremely, he must have got hit with some shots before he went and KO'd Warlley Alves in the beginning of the second round, it looks like. Strength of schedule. Oh, also, Wells did control 90% of the grappling time. 64% of the fight he controlled. So that is saying something right there. Jeremiah Wells has an okay strength of schedule. You want these numbers to be 70 to 75. That's usually a good, you know, a decent place for these strength of schedule numbers. We're at 67 pretty much at all of these. Blood Diamond, on the other hand, below 50. His professional opponents have a combined record of 7-9. So again, I don't like to go with guys that have a you know, losing record, you know, below 50% opponent winning percentage. But you know, Jake Collier, or sorry, Fat Collier, as Weezy would say, did have one of the lowest winning percentages before he fought, you know, the indomitable Chase Sherman. So we do have that going for us. Wells, like I said, his one fight in the UFC knocked out Warlley Alves at a $7,000 salary. Huge number there, huge ass whip index, 34.27. Raw DraftKings points per minute. It's just one fight, so it doesn't really tell us anything. Here are my projections. Whatever you think is going to happen, here's how I think it will score. Like I said, I will give you my picks at the end, but I believe I am picking, or ComputerMonk is picking Jeremiah Wells in this one. Probably to win inside the distance, but actually probably not. So, but we will check all that at the end. Let's keep it moving. Like I said, not much to say about Blood Diamond. Who am I going to have salaried here? Maybe a bit of Wells, probably not any Blood Diamond because I don't know what he can even do. So I will be very minimal on that one and probably minimal on this whole fight in general. Second fight, Sergey Morozov. I should have restarted my computer. I got a little lag here. Going against Douglas Silva de Andrade. I love how Bruce Buffer announces this guy. His nickname is D Silva, so he literally has to say Douglas De Silva de Andrade. It's the craziest. It's awesome. I love it. Morozov. This is going to be, let's see, a bantamweight fight. Morozov is 4 years younger than de Andrade, coming in at $9,000. That is, let's see, $1,700 more than his average salary. He is 1-1 in the UFC, so not too much UFC experience. He did score 3.32 points per minute in his 2 fights and only giving up 2.6, so he is outpacing his opponents here. In fact, I'm going to change the name of this stat from raw DraftKings points per minute to pace. That's a little easier to say. Pace, New York City. Shout out to my old heads that remember those fucking commercials. I just aged the shit out of myself. 105.22 DraftKings points per win for Morozov in his 1 win. He did give up 111 points in his loss. So a lot of points flying around in these Morozov fights. Average value 7.3. Let's see here. Good weight class. Bantamweight makes the optimal 53%. Second fight of the night, 54%. And these stats are since January 1st, 2021. So we've got, a year, 13 months worth of stats here that I'm using. The salary probability wins 63% of the time, $9,000 salary. It's a very sneaky salary as far as probabilities go. I like playing the $9,000 salary. It's got great odds, especially when you throw bantamweight and the second fight of the night in there. We move on to Silva de Andrade, $7,200, coming in $2,000 under his average salary. Is that right? I might have to go in and check my salaries here because that seems crazy. He's got 9 UFC fights. We'll call it how it is for now. I guess that's right. So he's coming in very cheap. He did make the optimal lineup 1 out of 2 fights last year. Only scores 79.81 points per win. Only gives up 90 per win or per loss. So I don't really see a ton of points here on the Andrade side, give or take. The weight class probability, we already said that. The $7,200 salary is another decent salary, but it wins only 36.8% of the time. And actually, that is pretty high for the $7,000 range. Let's see here. Silva de Andrade, look at this. Only 97 points when he wins by knockout, giving up 127 when he gets knocked out. So he does not score a lot there. Sergey scored 105 in a decision, gave up that 112 when he got subbed. Sergey, lots of takedown and control time points, almost 2 points total per minute from takedown and control time. Has a decent striking number as well. Silva, decent striking number for him, 1.61 DraftKings points per minute in striking, but gives up almost 2 points a minute. Does give up takedown points and does tend to get controlled a little bit. So we'll have to see how that one plays out against Morozov. Morozov only 30 bonus points in his decision win, gave up 70 in his second round loss. Silva de Andrade averaging 45 bonus points, not too many grappling points, and almost 30 stand-up points per win. When he loses, he does not seem to get his striking off as much, and he goes for the grappling much, much more. Gets a few extra, actually, sorry, this is his opponents. When he loses, he doesn't get outstruck per se, but he definitely gets out-grappled, and his opponents do score more bonus points per win than he does. So, that was a very confusing way to say that. I'm sorry. It's a bit early, still waking up a little bit, but I had to get this out for you guys on a Tuesday. Morozov, some decent striking defense. Let's see what else we have here. Strength of schedule, very good for Sergey Morozov. His opponent win percentage, 80%, 75.6 strength of schedule, 100 in defeat, 100%. Actually, so the guy he's lost to, Umar Nurmagomedov, has never lost in his last 5. So not never, but in his last 5. That's how you get this 100 right here. And Douglas Silva de Andrade, a damn good strength of schedule himself, almost 80 in a few of these categories, 93 strength of defeat. So some very good strength of schedules here. Getting wins over Gaetano Perello, losing to the undefeated Lerone Murphy, wins over Barao, Cheeto Vera, and then a loss to Peter Yan. So pretty good looking strength of schedule there for Silva de Andrade. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Trending up is Sergey Morozov and well above his opponents here. And as far as Silva de Andrade, he is below his opponent, but he is trending up, it looks like. That last Gaetano Perello fight really helped his stats out a little bit. And then here are my fight projections. Whatever you think is going to happen, here's how I think it will score. Look at these DraftKings visual recap and aggregate career finish percentages. A big chunk of Morozov's graph is missing because obviously no finish wins here. But other than that, he's looking pretty good all around, especially these grappling points per minute. Do like to see that. And then how they finish. Percent of finishes in wins, career, 72%, 75% losses have been finishes. And then 33 and 60% respectively for their UFC careers. So just kind of helps me determine whether fights will finish inside the distance or not. Next fight of the night, Jacob Malkoun going against newcomer AJ Dobson. Middleweight fight, Jacob Malkoun, let's see, about 4 years younger, 3.5 years younger than AJ Dobson, coming in at $8,000 this week, $1,000 over his average salary. Did make the optimal lineup once out of one time last year. Scored a shitload of points. He is 1-1 in the UFC. 5.53 raw DraftKings points per minute. Only gives up 1.54 for a differential of 4 DraftKings points a minute. That is absolutely outrageous. Scores 114 when he won. Gave up almost 128 when he lost. My goodness. And scored no points in his loss. Must have been a very early knockout, which we will find out in a sec. Actually, let's just do it. Why not? Yeah, Phil Haas knocked him out in, 20 seconds. Less than that. Middleweight, best probability to make the optimal lineup as far as weight class, 54%. I know this says 4, but that's because, actually, that might be right. Thought it was, but there might be a sneaky something in there. Either way, it's a good weight class. Fight order, not so much. Probability for salary, $8,000, actually wins more, 7% more than the $8,200 salary, which is 45%. So keep an eye on that Jacob Malkoun, $8,000 there. I like him in this fight, or ComputerMonk likes him in this fight, actually. Dobson has a Dana White Contender Series fight. I usually don't track those, blah, 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 but I did this time just so I could have some stats. So these numbers are not real right here. This did not happen. These are numbers from the Dana White Contender Series fight. If it was a UFC fight, here's how he would have scored. 8.9 DraftKings points per minute, giving up only 0.83 for a double ridiculous differential of 8.07. My goodness. He would have scored 128.8 points in his win. I mean, come on. 4 points a minute in striking, 2.3 a minute in knockdowns. I mean, 1.4 in control time. My goodness. Just a domination against Hashem Arkaga. I mean, first round sub right before the bell, pretty much. Just killing it. But strength of schedule, and actually we can go back and look at Malkoun here. 100% of his losses over 110 points. Yikes. Yeah, I think that was that 128 points he gave up in a knockout loss. Scored 114 in his decision win. So pretty good there. Opponents bonus points off the charts for that quick win from Phil Haas. A few stats if you want to take a look at those. These are career stats right here. I should probably change it to last 5. I like that a little bit better. But I digress. Strength of schedule, we're at above 67 for Malkoun, 78 strength of victory, so not a great strength of schedule here. Definitely could be better, but AJ Dobson, as you would expect from a UFC newcomer, much, much worse. Less than 50 across the board. His opponents also have a losing professional record, or his last 5 opponents, I should say, 25 and 32. That is a less than 44% win percentage there. Yeah, just AJ Dobson's 7.13 striking differential in his Dana White Contender Series fight. Insane. Malkoun with a win over Al Hassan in his last fight, and then that loss to Phil Haas, like we said. Barely trending up again. That Phil Haas loss was a big crusher for him, but like I said, he's 4 points above his opponents per minute. Projections here for you. I believe ComputerMonk likes Malkoun, but we will check at the end. Here are some graphs, some very interesting graphs here. Almost no overlap. We have no finish wins for Malkoun, so a big chunk taken out here. And then Dobson just has this whole, the finish win percent, DraftKings points per win, bonus points per win. It's not even close. But the average value, grappling points, strength of victory, etc., all is leaning Malkoun. Excuse me. And then the aggregate finishing percentages, I do think this one goes to, or finishes inside the distance, rather. 100% of their losses, UFC or otherwise, have come by finish. I guess that's only one loss for Malkoun. AJ Dobson is undefeated, so. Next fight, keeping it moving, Carlos Ulberg going against Fabio Cherant, the Water Buffalo. This is going to be a light heavyweight fight. Ulberg 3-1 professionally, 0-1 in the UFC. Cherant is 7-3 professionally, 0-2 in the UFC. So these guys, the winner, you know, they're fighting for their first UFC win, I guess I should say. I'm getting a little too many words trying to come out of my mouth at once. $8,900 for Carlos Ulberg. Last time he was a $9,000 salary, and he, I believe, dominated Kennedy and Chikwu until he got knocked the fuck out in the third round up against the cage. So it is what it is. He did score 7. There's some huge scoring numbers here today. 7.04 DraftKings points per minute. Gave up 5.21. Still a very good positive differential, but that is a ton of points to be given up. He did get a value of 6.5 in his loss, and he did score 58 points in that fight. Fabio Cherant, the complete opposite, scoring only 1.17 DraftKings points per minute, giving up 4.63 for a crazy negative 3.5 differential. He's $400 over his average salary, of which he gets a value of 0.43, one of the lowest I've ever seen, giving up over 101, almost 102 points per loss, and scoring only 3 points per loss himself. So, let's see. Ulberg, yeah, not too many fights for these guys, obviously. 3 UFC fights between them. All of Ulberg's points came from striking. 0.02 points came from control time against Kennedy. He gave up almost 4 striking points per minute. Big knockdown points there as well. Fabio Cherant, 100% of his points have come from striking, and that's not a lot. 1.17 per minute, giving up 1.32 per minute in striking, giving up almost a takedown per minute, or a takedown, 1 point in takedowns per minute, and then 2 points in knockdowns per minute. Just an absolute, just giving up points like it's, you know, candy at Halloween. I got no wins, so no graphs here. Both these guys giving up a ton of bonus points. Look at this for Ulberg. Gave up 40 points, but his fight did go much longer than Cherant's have, I do believe. Yeah, Cherant's been finished twice in the first round. Oh, and actually, Ulberg got finished in the second round. My mistake, not the third round. He landed 17.5 significant strikes per minute against Kennedy, and he got hit with just under 10. What are these numbers that I'm looking at? A 7.69 differential, and you're getting hit with 10 shots a minute? I mean, this is the no defense fight right here. Cherant getting hit has a negative differential, only 37% striking defense. No percent grappling time controlled. Insane. Pretty good strength of schedule for Ulberg. Over 75 win percentage, over 70 here, and then an 81 strength of defeat. Like I said, he was whooping Kennedy's ass until he wasn't anymore. Fabio Cherant, not a great strength of schedule, well under 70 for a few of these numbers. 70% win percentage and then 81 strength of defeat. But the last 5 stats tell, you know, a story here. We're not expecting a lot from Water Buffalo. Lost to William Knight, first round knockout, ass whooped. Lost to Alonzo Menafield, first round sub, ass whooped. So, whoops, I don't know why I'm going back up. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Fabio Cherant going against Ulberg here. I mean, I think Kennedy would probably beat Cherant. And I know MMA math doesn't work, but I just think Ulberg is way too active for Cherant here, I think. I mean, Cherant's only eaten 3.3 strikes a minute. Ulberg landed 17.5 in his first fight. I don't have the feeling that, you know, he's going to come out a completely different fighter and just, you know, not throwing 55 strikes a minute. So I guess we'll have to see how it plays out, but that's what I'm expecting. Cherant way below his opponents here, is trending up, but I mean, he's over 1.5 points below his opponents per minute, which is crazy. Actually, 1.5 points, 3.5. My mistake. I gave him too much credit. Here are my projections. As you can probably tell, much higher for Ulberg because of the volume. I got no graph there. Finishes in wins, finishes in losses, 100% loss. 4 losses between them, 100% finish rate there. Something to think about. When guys are getting finished wins, it's one thing, but when guys are getting finished 100% of the time, it's going to happen again. Who am I doing? Renato Moicano going against Alexander the Great Hernandez. This is going to be a lightweight fight. Moicano 15-4-1 professionally, 7-4 in the UFC. A good ass whooping number there. Decent power index, not a great chin index though. You want this number to be 0. If it's not 0, that means you're getting knocked down. And the higher it is, the more you're getting knocked down. Moicano made the optimal 1 out of 1 time in 2021. $8,500 salary this week. So he's right at his average in 11 fights, 84-33. He scores only 3.19 DraftKings points per minute, giving up 1.88. Very good number. So a pretty good positive differential there. Decent value at 7.85. Only scores 94 points when he wins. Only gives up 98 when he loses. So not a huge amount of point scoring here from Renato Moicano. Alexander Hernandez, 13-4 professionally, 5-3 in the UFC. Decent ass whoop index himself, a very good power index, and a better chin index than Renato Moicano. $7,700 is Alexander's salary. He's coming in $650 less than his average. Value of 8.2, scores less than Moicano at under 3 points per minute, giving up only 2.1, so also has a decent raw DraftKings points per minute differential. Scores just about where Moicano does, 96 points per minute or per win, 88 points per loss. So not a ton of points here to be given out, win or lose from either of these guys. When Moicano wins by sub, almost 115 points. That's a very good number. Only 76 when he wins by decision. Alexander has no sub wins in the UFC, but he does have knockout wins. 116 points per knockout win. Only 66 per decision. I mean, these guys are not giving up a ton of points. When Moicano got subbed, he only gave up 71 points. That said, some of these numbers kind of tell a different story. So let's see, what's that? 4 out of 7 wins for Moicano have been over 90, and then 3 out of 7 he has actually scored over 110. So apparently he's, when he does score well, he scores really well, and when he doesn't, it's nothing. It's like 60 points. So there's no middle ground, it seems like, for Moicano, is what I'm trying to say. He has given up over 90 in 2 of his 4 losses and over 110 in 1 of those 4 losses. Alexander Hernandez, he has scored over 90 points in 4 of his 5, over 103 of his 5, and over 110 in 2 of his 5 wins. So this is kind of the same thing here. We're getting points over 110, but our average DraftKings points per win is only in the mid-90s, which tells me that it's 110 and then like 80, and that's all you get, one of those 2 numbers. So you're not really sure which one to take. 1.7 striking points per minute, so he's a decent little striker there, but Moicano 2.18 has a ton of takedown points here per minute and does not give up a ton of ground points. Neither guy does, actually. So this could be an interesting fight. Like I said, I don't know how to even score this. Are we expecting 80 points, or are we expecting the winner to get 110 here? So that is definitely something you're going to have to keep in mind. 62 points when Moicano wins, bonus points, 80 points when he loses, so averaging, a first and second round finish there. Many less for Hernandez, and averaging 71 bonus points per win. So some pretty good bonus numbers there. Relevant fight stats, 5.12 strikes landed per minute for Moicano, has a 1.69 differential. Hernandez does have a negative differential. All of these numbers are red for Hernandez here. So we got better takedown defense by a ton for Moicano, more takedowns per 15 minutes, controls more of the grappling time, yada, yada. Pretty good strength of schedule, 78-76 across the board. A bit lower for Hernandez, except that strength of victory is pretty much even. So very similar strength of schedules here. Fight history in last 5 fights. Alexander Hernandez is whooping some ass, though, in his last 5. Has a great power index of 1.27 and a 0, a perfect chindex. He has not been knocked down in 5 fights. Meanwhile, Moicano, 2.82 chindex. You really do not want that. Jai Herbert. Sorry, my cat is clawing at my door. Moicano with wins over Herbert and Hadzovic, but he is 2-3 in his last 5, getting knocked out in the first round by Fiziev, knocked out in the first round by Chan Sung Jung, and knocked out in the second round by Jose Aldo in 2019. My goodness, I didn't know it was like that for Moicano. He's been knocked out 3 times in his last 5 fights. Alexander Hernandez, I mean, 2 knockout wins and a knockout loss in his last 5. So we've got 6 knockout finishes. In fact, Moicano has 5 finishes in his last 5. So, his last 5 fights have all ended by way of finish, I should say. So 80% of these guys' fights, I mean, finish. Let's see. Sorry, my cat's distracting me right now. She's just, I don't know what's happening. That's beside the point. Moicano, well above his opponents, trending up while his opponents trend down. You love to see that. And then, let's see here. Hernandez, above his opponents as well, trending up pretty substantially while his opponents are more of an even keel there. Here are my projections, very even projections for the most part because of these guys' fighting styles. And look at these graphs right here. They are almost an exact replica of each other. This is a great matchup. Great matchup. Finishing percentages here. Looking pretty decent. I believe ComputerMonk will pick this one to finish inside the distance. Lots of finish losses between these guys, for sure. Ronnie Lawrence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're through 5 of them. Okay, I'll try to keep it moving. Ronnie Lawrence going against Mana Martinez. Bantamweight fight. Lawrence is 7-1 professionally. Only 1-0 in the UFC. Absolutely whooped someone's ass in his one UFC fight. Did make the optimal lineup. He is $9,300 this week. Coming in $700 more than his previous salary. Had a huge value of 15.6. I mean, look at this pace. 7.12 points per minute. Has a 6.03 DraftKings points per minute differential. That is insane. He did score 135 points almost in his last fight last year. I mean, the bantamweights make optimal at 53%. Sixth fight of the night makes optimal 56%. $9,300 wins 63% of the time. I mean, these odds are fantastic. I like Ronnie Lawrence here. Going against Mana Martinez, 9-2 professionally, also 1-0 in the UFC. $6,900 this week. He is $2,100 less than his previous salary, where he did accrue a value of 8.38. Has a positive DraftKings points per minute differential. You're going to have to excuse me for 1 second. I'm so sorry. Sorry, my cat was begging to be let out, so I really do apologize for that. I don't edit this shit, so you're just going to have to freaking deal with it. At least I show you something nice in the background while I'm gone, though, right? So yeah, where was I? Mana Martinez doesn't score a ton. 0.85 positive raw DraftKings points per minute differential. Only scores 3.3 or 3.03 a minute. And only scored 75 points in his DraftKings win. Not good when you're $9,000 to score 75 points. Not too much in the way of stats here that we didn't cover. Ronnie Lawrence, most of his points, actually, wow. 2.83 striking points per minute, 3.17 takedown points per minute, and 1.11 control time points per minute. Just scoring from every which way in his previous fight. Mana Martinez mostly striking, a bit of takedown. Didn't give up hardly any as far as takedown points and whatnot in his first fight. So, I mean, he only scored 75, but didn't get hardly anything scored on him. Look at this. Ronnie Lawrence scored 76 grappling points in his first fight. I got to get down here. Vince Cachero, that's right. I saw the highlight of him kicking his legs out last night a little bit. Third round knockout, 77 strikes landed, 15 landed against, 8 takedowns, 61% control time. Yeah, you could call that an absolute domination. His strength of schedule, not great, below 70 in most of these categories. Mana Martinez, I mean, 10 to 15 points worse across the board in every category as far as strength of schedule. Did get a win over Guido Canetti, split decision, 3-round split decision there. I mean, outstruck him, took him down twice. So it did show a bit of takedown offense there. Only one fight for each of these guys, so we can skip that. Here are the projections. Huge projection for Lawrence, obviously. Very small projection for Mana, obviously. Here are the graphs. And then the finish percentages. I don't think ComputerMonk picked this to finish inside the distance. But as I said, we will see at the end. So I do like Ronnie Lawrence here. But we only have one fight for each of these guys. So what... You know, if you're just going on stats, you're going to say Ronnie Lawrence is going to whoop his ass and score 1 million takedowns and blah, blah, blah. What's his takedown against here? Takedowns landed against 0 for Mana Martinez. So we're just going to have to see how this one plays out. Mana is the bigger fighter also, just to keep that in mind. 5'10" to 5'8", 2-inch reach advantage, and he's 4 years younger. So not that that matters. Lawrence is only 29. But, yeah, that could be an interesting one. Everybody's going to be pretty high on Lawrence this week at 7,300. I don't know. He did go crazy with his points last time, so that's going to be hard to ignore. William Knight, the Nightmare, going against Maxim Grishin. Light heavyweight fight. Let's see. William Knight, the much smaller fighter here. 5'10" to 6'3", and a 5-inch reach disadvantage. $7,500 this week. So he is cheaper than his average by about $5,000. Or $500, excuse me, about $400 actually. Does not score very well. 2.69 points per minute, gives up 3.19 for a negative differential. Only scores 90 points when he wins, and that's over 3 UFC wins. Gave up almost 112 when he lost. Maxim Grishin, 1-2 in the UFC, so off to a bit of a rough start here. He is 37 years old also. Keep that in mind. $8,700 salary, so he's $400 more than his average. Scores 2.39 DraftKings points per minute. That is very low. 13th out of, I believe, 20 ranked fighters. And I don't mean fighters that are ranked in the UFC ranking system. I mean fighters that are ranked in my system. These ranks right here. We're ranking fighters on the card only, so it only goes up to 20. There are 30 fighters, but 10 of them have less than 3 UFC fights, so they are not ranked. Wow, that was quite the tangent. Blah, blah, blah. Has a positive differential, but just barely. It might as well be even. Scored 99.23 points in his one win, averaging only 67.8 points given up over 2 losses. So Maxim Grishin does not give up points. William Knight does not score points. Okay, Maxim Grishin does not score points. William Knight does give up points. So if I'm on a side here, man, I'm not on a side here. I don't like this fight for DraftKings at all. Grishin's been finished 6 times in his career. William Knight has 9 knockouts. I mean, so Grishin has 16 knockouts. So I mean, this could be a bang or bust fight again. I mean, the winner could get a first-round knockout, or this could go all 3 rounds and the loser scores 67, or the winner scores 67.8 points. So let's kind of get a little deeper here. William Knight, when he does win by knockout, 105 points. So you have to keep that in mind. That's a good score. If he's going to knock someone out, he scores well. And Grishin has been knocked out 3 times in 9 losses. Grishin only 99 points when he wins by knockout in the UFC. William Knight, only 1 loss, and that was a 112-point loss there. Points per minute, William Knight is perfectly even at 1.29. See, William Knight does not score a ton of points anywhere, but he does score points everywhere. Knockdown, takedown, control time, reversal. You don't see many fighters with, where all of these numbers aren't 0, or where at least one of them is not 0. Gives up a ton of takedown points and a ton of control time points, but Maxim Grishin does not do that. He doesn't go for takedowns. He doesn't have many control points per minute. He gets controlled and gets taken down. So I have a feeling this one's going to be an on-the-feet fight for most of it. And if that's the case, I mean, we're just fighting to see who who's going to get knocked out or if they can avoid knockouts. That's all we're going to do, if that's the case. 50 bonus points per win for Knight, 70 in Grishin's one. I mean, look at this. When Knight lost, his opponents put up 68 points of grappling points on him. Who was that? Da Eunjung. Yeah, that guy's no joke. I really like that guy. Some relevant fight stats for you guys. Pretty even. I mean, Grishin lands more. Takedown defense is better. I don't know, actually. Control time is pretty even. They're both not great at it. Accuracy goes to Knight. I mean, you could kind of with stats, you could kind of put this however you wanted to make it look. William Knight 4-1 in his last 5 with a damn good strength of schedule. 79% opponent win percentage. We're over 75 in most of the rest of these categories. Last 5 fight history though and stats. He has a great power index, perfect chin index, but he's getting out takedown and out. Like we said, takedowns and control, not a good look for either of these guys. Striking is pretty much what they do. And we are pretty even there. William Knight with wins over Menefield, knocked out Cherant, lost to Da Eunjung, and beat Alexa Kamer. Only scored 86 points in that decision. Only scored 78 in the Menefield decision. Grishin with losses to Jacoby, got a knockout win over Antigulov, and lost to Tybura. Not a lot of scoring points or scoring opportunities there. William Knight is getting outscored by his opponents, as we said, but trending up. And then just barely, Grishin is above his opponents and trending up as well. Here are my projections, a bit higher for Grishin. I mean, if he lands the knockout, it should be a pretty decent, a decent score, depending on the round, I guess. But I don't know, man. 2 knockout guys, 2 guys that make their, have a ton of knockout wins, I should say, going up against each other. Are you going to see a knockout there? Maybe. Or are you going to see them kind of dance around each other and try not to get caught? That is the question. So we will have to see who ComputerMonk picks at the end of this. Next fight, Alex Perez, and I spelled it wrong. Going up against Matt Schnell, flyweight fight. This fight has tried to happen 4 or 5 times, it feels like. Perez, 5'6", 65-inch reach. Matt Schnell, 2 inches taller, 5 inches more reach, and 3 years older. Actually, about 2 years older. Perez, 24-6 professionally, 6-2 in the UFC. He is the most expensive fighter on the card this week. $9,600 salary. I mean, that's $1,100 over his average, where he does get a value of 9.63. That is the 4th best value on the card. Has a raw DraftKings points differential of 3.04 points per minute. Fantastic. Scores the 2nd highest points per win on the card, 106.82. Gives up 102.3 when he loses. So a lot of points in Perez fights, it seems like. Flyweights make it at 50% of the time. The 8th fight of the night, 52%. And then 71% is the $9,600 salary, which has not been used a ton. I think only 7. This is the 8th time since 2021. Matt Schnell on the other side, 15-6 professionally, 5-4 in the UFC, $6,600, the lowest salaried fighter on the card, coming in almost $1,100 lower than average with a 6.24 value, gets outpointed per minute at negative 0.7 points, scores only 72 points when he wins, and that's in 5 losses, you guys. Gives up 109 points per loss over 4 losses. So Schnell, when he loses, is giving up points very consistently. Very, very consistently. Look at this. When Schnell wins by sub, only 96 points. When he wins by decisions, only 45 points. And we're up over 100 for finishes for Perez and 91.7 in a decision. So very good scores there. 75%, so 3 of 4 losses from Schnell. His opponents have scored over 110. Perez has scored over 100 in 3 of his 6 wins and over 110 in 2 of them. Only given up over 110 once. Let's see where Schnell allows a lot of points. I mean, he gives up a bunch of striking points, takedown points as well, and control time, not great, but top 10 for the card. Perez, 2nd highest striking points per minute, 3rd highest knockdown, 3rd highest takedown, 3rd highest control time. Scoring everywhere. Looking great. Averages 67 bonus points per win, gives up 90 when he loses. So 2 first-round finishes. I know one was to the champ, the current champ, Figgy. And then Matt Schnell giving up 75 bonus points on average over 4 losses. I mean, absolute insane numbers for Perez. 83% takedown defense, almost 48.5% striking accuracy. Great striking defense. Controls 91% of the grappling time. Fantastic. Has a great strength of schedule, and all these stats are much worse for Schnell, who controls only 8% of the grappling time. Strength of schedule, much better for Perez. I mean, much better, I guess, by like 5 points per category, something like that. So Schnell's isn't terrible, but it's not great. Perez 3-2 in his last 5. The other loss coming to Joe Benavidez in 2018, where he got knocked out in the first round. Otherwise, decision over De La Rosa, subbed Espinoza in the first, and knocked out Formiga in the first as well. Matt Schnell also 3-2 in his last 5, but his opponents not exactly the same caliber. Wins over Tyson Nam and Jordan Espinoza, which is a common opponent. And he actually did fight Pantoja as well. So I guess he's got a couple of decent fighters in his last 5. I shouldn't talk so bad about him. Alex Perez, way above his opponents and still trending up while his opponents trend down. That's what you love to see. And then Matt Schnell getting outscored, trending down while his opponents trend up. Not what you want to see. Projections, here we go. Much higher for Alex Perez, as you could imagine. And then the aggregate visual recap and the aggregate win-loss percentages. I mean, Perez dominating here. I mean, there's not one point on this graph where Schnell has better numbers. It's absolute domination. Then the career finish rate, lots of finishes in losses. So 6 losses between them. They've been finished in 5 of them. So a lot of finished losses here. I like Perez. I like Perez's possible score. I don't like Perez's $9,600 salary. I'm not going to be, I'd never roster guys with like the highest salary a ton. I mean, last week it would have helped you because Jelton Almeida made the optimal lineup, but that's a bit different. 96 just seems, it's like the highest salary. It is the highest salary that DraftKings has put out, and it's hard for me to get behind that. Here we go. Fight of the night, baby. Casey O'Neill going against Roxanne Modafferi. I am not the person that's going to tell you to bet Roxanne here. I'm not that person. In fact, I would tell you to do the opposite if I was into telling you to do things. That's what I would think. But this one's going to be a women's flyweight fight. 5'6" for O'Neill, 69-inch reach, 24 years old. She is undefeated professionally, 3-0 in the UFC, $9,500. She is $1,100 more than her average salary. What do you get for that? You get the highest raw DraftKings points per minute on the card. And I know we've seen some 17s and some 8s. Those guys weren't ranked. They have less than 3 fights. This is consistency. 6.23 points per minute over 3 fights, giving up only 2.37 per minute for an average differential of 3.86, the highest ranked differential on the card, highest value on the card, 15.1. 126.8 points per win, highest on the card. Casey O'Neill made the optimal lineup 3 out of 3 times last year. She was by far the best DraftKings play of the entire year. I put out several posts about it. The absolute #1 DraftKings player last year was Casey O'Neill. Doesn't matter gender, weight class, none of that shit. Casey O'Neill was the best DraftKings player last year. Roxanne Modafferi. I mean, how can you hate on Roxanne? I'm not trying to hate on Roxanne. But this is her retirement fight. She is 39 years old, and she's fighting a beast, in my opinion, in Casey O'Neill, who's still developing her skills and whatnot, but I think she's got 3 finishes, man. Let's see. Roxanne, 4-7 in the UFC. 6,700, so she is $600 less than her average salary. So if you like Roxanne here, you're getting a deal. Only scores 2.85 points per minute, gives up 3.63 for a negative differential, has an average value of 7.9, not great. Does have a surprisingly high DraftKings points per win number, 103.12 points per win. That surprised the shit out of me, I'm not going to lie, for the better. Here's the problem, though. The $6,700 salary has been used, I think, 18 times since 2000. This is the 18th since 2021. It has won 1 time. 5.56%. That was Chris Grutzmacher against Rafa Garcia, I believe. Yeah, I think so. So 1 time out of 18. The $6,700 salary is 1. So not looking good. I'm not going to be rostering Roxanne Modafferi here. I'm just not. Casey O'Neill, 135 points when she wins by knockout. 109 when she wins by sub. I mean, come on. Modafferi. What is this here? 5 of her 7 losses. No. Am I doing that right? Yes. No. 4 of her 7 losses, she scored over 90. 2 of them she scored over or given up over 110, and 2 of them she's given up. Yeah, I just said that. Wow. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all flustered. You know what I'm trying to say. She gives up a lot of points. And she has scored over 110 in 1 of her 4 wins. Over 102 of them. So Casey O'Neill, 3.88 striking points per minute. That is first on the entire card. Only gives up 1.65. Has also the highest takedown points per minute on the card. And the highest control time minutes on the card. This is crazy. Casey O'Neill scoring everywhere. And Roxanne giving up tons of striking, tons of takedown, and tons of control time. So, I mean, unless Casey O'Neill's completely off her game, or Roxanne just comes out and does what she says and throws like 4 spinning, heel kicks and a back fist and a back elbow and an up elbow, then maybe she'll win, but I just don't see it happening, man. I mean, Casey O'Neill is prolific scorer. 27 points per win in striking, 37, almost 38 in grappling, and 61 in bonus. Come on, man. These are great numbers here. Huge striking differential, the first number 1 on the card. 67% takedown defense. Oh, she lands 3.83 takedowns per 15. Roxanne, 25% takedown defense. And in fact, that number has been cut in half in her last 5 fights. If you're only going on last 5 fights, it's 12.5% takedown defense for Roxanne. Strength of schedule, much better for Roxanne. This is where she shines. She's been fighting pretty much the best of the best in the division. And she is 2-3 in her last 5 with wins over Barber and Lee, in which she scored over 95 in both of them. But those 100-point fights haven't happened in a while, looks like. Finish, Antonina Shevchenko. Oh, but Antonina was doing... No! Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Casey O'Neill took her down 3 times, 57% control time, 131 points. Procopio took her down twice, but then what happened? 30 strikes differential. She landed a takedown of her own, out-controlled Procopio 2-1. Okay, so I don't want to hear this Procopio took her down. So? And? Doesn't matter. 4 takedowns against Shayna Dobson, who's, Shayna Dobson. 85% control time. That's 8 takedowns to 2 in the past 5 fights. Look at this. Roxanne, 5, 4, 3, 2. How many is that? 14 takedowns in the past 4 fights given up? 8 takedowns for against 14 takedowns against. Come on, man. What are we doing here? Well, there's huge value on Roxanne. Okay, sure. Sure. You're not wrong. 6.23, way above her average opponent, or her opponents, and trending way up is Casey O'Neill. Look, man, if she loses this week, I guess I'll find a hat and eat it. But until then, like, what are we doing? I don't know. Projections. As you can see, I'm kind of passionate about this one. I just... visual recap, insane graphs for Casey O'Neill, and not much here. Looking like the state of Tennessee, pretty much, for Roxanne Modafferi. That's not what you want to see. And then the aggregate win and loss finish rates. Not too many finish losses for these women. I don't think this one finishes inside the distance, even though Casey O'Neill is a crazy finisher. But we shall see. Next fight, Andre Arlovski going up against Jared Vanderaa. Heavyweight fight, the big boys. Arlovski 21-14 in the UFC. He's only been a favorite in 2 of those fights. Can you believe that? Since, if you go all the way back to, I think, 2008, Jake O'Brien, he's 10-10 as an underdog. So he's been an underdog in 20 of those fights, only a favorite in 2 of them. That is absolutely insane to me. That said, he is coming in $700 over his average salary. Arlovski does not score well. 2.24 points per minute, very low on the card. Gets outstruck actually by, or it's pretty much even. Average value 7.6. Only scores 88.5 points per win. Okay, gives up 90 per win, so not a lot of points in this heavyweight. Again, in these heavyweight fights with Arlovski involved, not a lot at all. The weight class, makes the optimal at 56%. The 10th fight of the night is the best statistical fight to make the optimal at 66.6%. So hey, we got some numbers going for us. That's why I have these two guys ranked pretty high as far as DraftKings rating, 11 and 9. For some reason, it likes Vanderaa better, probably because of the salary, I guess. I don't know. Vanderaa 1 and 2 in the UFC, 7,900. So he is $800 more than his average salary, which is the lowest on the card. This average $7,100 salary scores even less than Arlovski does. 2.1 points per minute, gets outpointed by 0.8 points. 83 in a win in his one win. 2 losses, he did give up 105, so that is a bit more than Arlovski, but still nothing crazy here. I don't think this one scores. I mean, unless one of these guys gets knocked out, I don't think it's going to score very well. Arlovski's been knocked out 11 times out of 20. Eesh. Vanderaa has been knocked out twice out of 6 losses, so I mean, that's 13 KO losses in 26 fights. That's a 50% rate of knockout loss? Did I do that wrong? I don't know. Jesus Christ, man. So I don't know what to expect in this fight. Arlovski's 43. Going against a guy that's not even 30. This is probably going to go the distance. Listen, if it doesn't, I don't know what to say. I don't know how this fucking thing scores. Those numbers are crazy. Less than 90 points apiece. But they're getting knocked out at like a 50% rate as far as losses go. Oh my God. Arlovski, 108 when he wins by knockout, 124 when he wins by sub, doesn't happen much. 65 when he wins by decision, 46 in a split. Doesn't give up a ton of points when he loses, even when he's getting finished. Vanderaa, decision win, and then 2 knockout losses, averaging 105 points. Arlovski, 57 out of 21 wins over 90. Or 57% of 21 wins, 47% over 100, and 23.8% over 110. So not scoring a ton of points there, not giving up a ton of points either. 1.66 points per minute, and he is outworking his opponent there. Knockdowns, not much to be given up as far as takedowns, but control time, he does tend to get controlled a bit. Meanwhile, Vanderaa gets taken down, gets controlled, does neither of those things, and is perfectly even striker. So yeah, this is going to be a stand and bang fight, obviously. Be surprised if this hits the ground at all, unless it's from a punch. Stand-up striking points, though, for Vanderaa in his win, 45 of them. My goodness. Couple of stats here. I'm not going to get too into it. I want to keep moving. We've got like 5. Ooh, only 5 left. All right, we're doing pretty good. Yeah, outstriking his opponents is Arlovski at 2/3 of a strike per minute. Meanwhile, Jared Vanderaa 10 times less than that. Neither guy controls very much of their opponent. And then strength of schedule, surprisingly decent here for I was gonna say both guys, but that's not true. Arlovski right about average here, over 70 everywhere, and a good strength of defeat, losing to only Tom Aspinall in his last 5. Wow. Otherwise, the Tanner Boser win is the biggest win, I think. Plus 305 he took that at. My goodness. Jared Vanderaa on the other side. A pretty poor strength of schedule. We are above 70 in win percentage, but 60s the rest of them, not, except for the strength of defeat, which he's lost to the undefeated Alexander Romanov and the, I believe, 13-3 Sergey Spivak. Beat Justin Tafa in a unanimous decision. Yeah, if he's going to unanimous with Tafa, this is probably going to be a decision. Arlovski, even with his opponents, both guys trending up, and then Vanderaa getting outscored pretty badly. Projections right here, very low for both guys, even in a first-round finish. Not even 100 for Vanderaa. Whatever. Arlovski, huge graph right here. My God. Vanderaa with no finish wins, so a big chunk taken out there. Some very low bonus points, and hardly any grappling points. So a very bow tie-ish looking graph here, while Arlovski has the big, almost parallelogram. That's right. I graduated 8th grade. Finishing percentages. I don't know. I think ComputerMonk probably picked this one to finish inside the distance now that I say all that shit about how I think that it's going to go the distance. Whatever. We're separate entities, me and ComputerMonk. We don't get along. He picked Carlston Harris last week, dude. I tried to reason with him. I tried to be like, look, Shavkat's from Kazakhstan. You see the flag he comes out with, right? Yes, I see the flag he comes out with. All right. You know he killed that animal. He like trained an animal to kill the animal that he's wearing on his head. You know that, right? Yes, I know that as well. I'm still picking Harris. Like, I don't understand what he was thinking there, but we don't always see eye to eye. Bobby Green, Nasrat Haqparast. This could be an interesting one. Lightweight fight. Bobby Green, 9-7-1 in the UFC, coming in $8,400. He made the optimal lineup in 2 out of 2 fights last year. Bobby Green, both of his fights, optimal lineup. Coming in $400 over his average salary. Does have the 5th highest pace on the card at 3.41 points per minute. Has a raw DraftKings points differential of 1.05 and a decent value of 8.42. Scores only 92 points per win, but gives up only 68 when he loses, and that is over 7 losses. That is the second best number on the card. You don't score points against Bobby Green, especially these days. Haqparast, he's 5-3 in the UFC. No optimal sightings as of last year. $7,800, so he is $700 less than his average salary. Scores only 2.76 points per minute, but ends with a positive differential here of 0.26. A poor average value of 6.7. He scores 82 points in a win, so 10 points less than Bobby Green, 10.5. Opponents scoring 95 points when he loses, so not a very good scorer is Nasrat. Let's see, and we'll kind of take a look at the DraftKings scoring by method. Bobby Green, 109 points when he gets a knockout, 124 given up when he gets knocked out. Not too high in subs, but 92 points when he wins by decision is a fantastic number that I'm really going to be eyeing this week. That is a huge number. 3rd highest on the card, and he's got, I don't know how many decision wins. I guess I'd have to look. Yeah. I could forget it. Has Nasrat. Let's see, where was I? Only 88 points when he wins by knockout. That's it. When he wins by knockout, 88 points. Has a decent points per decision win at 80. Gave up 105 when he got knocked out. 90 in his decision loss. So if this goes to decision and Bobby Green wins, he could score really well for a decision. Bobby Green, let's see, 6 of 9 wins over 90, 3 over 100, and 2 over 110. Only given up 110 points one time. All the remaining 6 of those 7 fights, he didn't even give up 90. So you could say anomaly, fluke, whatever word you want to use. Scores very consistently, 24 stand-up points, 23 grappling points, 45 bonus points. Absolutely love it. And look how many points Nasrat's given up. 22 striking, 23 in grappling, 50 in bonus. This chart and this chart are way too similar for Nasrat's liking. I guess these two are pretty similar too. So some relevant fight stats. Takedown defense for both guys is pretty good. Strikes landed per minute, highest on the card, 5.56 for Bobby Green, 1.91 differential. Nasrat right behind him, though, in both of those categories. Strength of schedule, we're pretty even. Bobby Green winning every category with numbers just about 75 or higher, except for that strength of victory where Nasrat does take the edge there, losing to Dan Hooker and Drew Dober. Wins over Garcia, Munoz, and Silva. Green losing to Rafael Fiziev, which ComputerMonk does not think he lost that fight, as I'm sure, many of you maybe also think that that fight was much closer than we thought. And then Moises, who ComputerMonk also thinks that Bobby Green beat. Just based on metrics, if you take out round-by-round scoring, that's what this ass whoop index is. And the higher you are over 0, the more ComputerMonk thinks that you won the fight. So, outscored 2-2 takedowns. Control time, not great, but yeah. And then wins over Ally Quinta, first round finish, Alan Patrick and Lando Venata for Bobby Green, who is above his opponents and trending way up. His graph's not even touching his opponent. And then Nasrat above his opponents, but trending down as far as strike or points scored per minute. Upcoming fight projections. I like the Bobby Green side of things here a bit more. And then the DraftKings visual recap. Pretty decent graphs from both these guys. You want to see more finish wins from Haqparast and maybe more grappling points. But he's sticking out here in distance, last 5 strength of victory, and overall win percentage. So some pretty decent graphs for both of these guys. Career finishing percentages, yeah, these are very low numbers. 28% of their UFC wins have come by way of finish. 20% of their losses, which is 10 losses, so only 2 of them have ended in a finish. Very interesting. I think this one goes the distance probably. I think ComputerMonk likes Bobby Green there. Next fight. Oh man, I'm getting ready to be done. Kyler Phillips, what do we got? 4 left. We are at an hour. All right, hang in there. Hang in there, people. 4 left. Kyler Phillips going against Marcelo Rojo. Phillips 3-1 in the UFC, $9,400 salary. He is $1,000 more than his average. You get a pretty good DraftKings points per minute number there. 4.06 has a big DraftKings points per minute differential at 1.8 and a 10 average value, 3rd best on the entire card. All that said, in 3 wins, we're only averaging 87.2 points per win for Kyler Phillips. Very, very low. Gave up basically 71 points when he lost. So that is a pretty good number. Not a great ceiling, but a very, very good floor. Marcelo Rojo, only 1 UFC fight. He is 0-1, coming in $300 less than his previous salary. Scores only 2.52 points per win. Gives up almost 5 points per minute, I should say. Negative 2.44 raw DraftKings points per minute differential. 5.16 value in that fight. And he also gave up 117 points in that loss. Not a good look. Let's see here. Kyler Phillips, 97 points when he wins by knockout, 82 in decision, so that's pretty good. So that's pretty consistent. I mean, you're going to get like 90 some points out of Kyler Phillips, it seems like. Unless he comes out and starches Marcelo Rojo, which I believe happened in his last fight. Well, I guess not starched, 3rd round knockout against Charles Jourdain. So that's not getting starched at all. Kyler Phillips, 2 out of 3 of his wins, he put up over 90, never given up over 90. And then, as we said, Rojo with a ton of points given up. Phillips, 2.22 DraftKings points per minute when it comes to striking, giving up only 1.51. Marcelo Rojo is at 2.12, so right behind him. Look how many he gives up, though. 3.22 striking points per minute. You don't want to do that against a guy like Kyler Phillips. Didn't give up any takedowns, did Marcelo Rojo. Phillips is definitely going to be coming for those takedowns, for sure. And control time, which Marcelo Rojo did give up pretty easily in his first fight. So I'm really liking Kyler Phillips here. Obviously, he is the big favorite, so that's not really going out on a limb or anything. But the stats, do back it up, especially the scoring stats. I will have some of him rostered. I don't like the 90 points per win, but some of these numbers are just too good to pass up, especially when you're going up against a guy that gave up 53 striking points in his loss, 18 grappling points, and 40, and still got finished. So I will definitely have some Kyler Phillips exposure here. Lands 5 strikes a minute, 1.85 striking differential, 67% takedown defense. Marcelo Rojo with a 100% takedown defense, though, so he was not his opponent was not able to take him down. Charles Jourdain not able to take him down in that fight. 64% of grappling time controlled for Kyler Phillips, 13.6 for Marcelo Rojo. The strength of schedule is, I guess, a bit closer than I would think, but still, it's Phillips by a few points in every category. Lost to Rowley and Paiva in his last fight. Beat Song Yadong, very good win. Beat Cameron Else and beat Silva. And as we said, Rojo losing to Jourdain. I mean, Kyler Phillips, positive numbers across the board when it comes to differentials, and we are negative across the board except for these takedowns per minute or per 15 for Rojo. 10.97 ass whoop index, good power index, perfect chin index. Look at the chin index for Rojo, 1.89. That is very bad. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Phillips way above his opponent and trending up, while Rojo, well, only 1 fight. We already discussed how that went. Not good for him. Projections, Phillips almost at 100 points in a win here, so a pretty highly projected fighter in Kyler Phillips. We can look at Phillips' graph here, which doesn't really tell you anything because Rojo has like no stats. It has no wins, so I should say. And then the finishing percentages, a pretty high number of finishes in losses between these guys, UFC or otherwise. So we'll have to see what ComputerMonk picks as far as this one finishing inside the distance. I like Kyler Phillips here. He is very expensive, so I will have an exposure cap on him. I don't think I'm going to have much of Marcelo Rojo, to be quite honest. Here's where we get into it. Jared Cannonier going against Derrick Brunson, Blonde Brunson. Middleweight fight. Jared Cannonier 7-5 in the UFC, so not a great UFC record. Hold on, please. All right, that's what I was missing from my life. Let me get my mustache back in place. Jared Cannonier 7-5 in the UFC, not a great record. 8,600, but he has been on a crazy streak lately, I believe. Let's just okay, so not a crazy streak. He's 4-1 in his last 5. Has a great power index, not a good chindex, 1.03, $8,600 this week. That is the best, the highest probability of any salary to make the optimal lineup. It's 8,600. Even after Puna got smashed up last week, it's still the case. So that is my favorite salary. 7,900 is his average, so he is about $700 over that. Only scores 2.12 points per minute. Gives up 2.9 per minute for a big negative differential of 0.78. Only has a 7.19 value. Scores less than 90 points per win, guys. That's in 7 wins. Averages 93 points given up per loss over 5 losses. Not a great look as far as scoring goes for Jared Cannonier. Now, the $8,600 salary does win 3 out of 4 times, 75%. And Puna just lost last week, so is that going to happen again? Statistically, no. But obviously, this isn't a statistic game. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Derrick Brunson, 14-5 in the UFC, so also has 5 losses. Huge ass whoop index, 14.5. That is a big, big number. This chindex is really what's getting me. It's a bit bigger than even Jared Cannonier's at over 1.3. $7,600 is Brunson's salary. That is $600 cheaper than his usual, which is very good. I mean, how do you not like Derrick Brunson here? You know what I'm saying? Made the optimal lineup 2 fights out of 2 last time. Scores 4.13 points per minute. That's 2 more than Cannonier. Gives up only 1.88 for a giant differential of 2.25 per minute. Second highest value on the card at 10.13. That is fantastic. Scores 105 points per win and gives up 93 points per loss, just like Cannonier. Has a pretty good ceiling, low floor. But guys, I mean, how do you not like this fight right here? This is probably going to be my most exposed, well, maybe not most exposed. Second, it's going to be up there. I'm going to have a lot of both sides of this fight. Jared Cannonier for that $8,600 salary voodoo that I mentioned. That's too good to pass up. Derrick Brunson, look at these numbers, are crazy, man. 105, 4 points a minute, and he's on a roll right now. Sanford Brunson is something else. Like we said, middleweights make the optimal 54% of the time. The 13th fight, 61% of the time. Wow, ComputerMonk really likes Derrick Brunson here a lot, and it's not even close. Spoiler alert. Cannonier, only 97 points when he wins by knockout, 70 when he wins by decision. Not even. Not even. Derrick Brunson, 109 points almost when he wins by knockout, 114 in a sub win, 96.5 in a decision win. These are great, great scoring numbers right here. And this is, I was going to say never mind. It's not what I was going to say. Cannonier, where are we at? 4 fights out of 7 over 90 points. 2 fights out of 7 over 100 and 1 fight over 110. He has given up over 100 points in 2 of his 5 losses. Derrick Brunson, look at this. 78% of his wins over 90, 71% of his wins over 100, and 21 over 110. So he is out here scoring points. 3 out of 5 wins he's given up over 90. Actually, he's given up over 100, and 2 out of those 5 he's given up over 110. So when he loses, he's given up a ton of points. Jared Cannonier does not score a ton of points. Does not. In fact, look at these takedown points per minute. 17 out of 20 ranked fighters. Jared Cannonier gives up 0.7 takedown points per minute. You don't want to see that going against Sanford Brunson, man. 1 takedown point per minute, 4th highest on the card. 2nd best control time rate on the card. Even striking he's over Cannonier here, man. Oh my goodness. I like Derrick Brunson here a lot. I really do. I'm a fan. Let's see. Cannonier giving up 54 points per loss in bonuses. 14 grappling points. I have a feeling this one's going to go up a little bit if Derrick Brunson gets that win. I mean, ComputerMonk thinks that Derrick Brunson's the best fighter on this card. I would not agree with that, but it for DraftKings, because it heavily weighs takedowns and control time over striking. So that's kind of where you get this one right here, because his takedown defense is 93%. Cannonier 62%. Cannonier giving up over 2 takedowns a minute. Brunson landing almost 3 takedowns a minute. Bro. Controlling 95% of the grappling time. Cannonier controls 18% of the grappling time. 4-1 is Cannonier in his last 5. His only loss to Robert Whittaker. Has a pretty good strength of schedule. Brunson's strength of schedule is, I'm going to say better. I'm going to say better. And it's not even really close. Not really. Last 5 fights, I mean, positive differentials everywhere. I mean, 3.48 takedowns per 15 differential for Brunson in his last 5. Negative 1.07 for Cannonier. So it seems like Cannonier can't stop takedowns, and it seems like that's what Brunson likes to do. 15.7 ass whoop index. Huge power index for Cannonier, but a 0.51 chindex. Man. I'm liking Derrick Brunson here. That's it. Cannonier getting outworked by his opponents and not even close and trending down. Meanwhile, Derrick Brunson way above his opponents and still trending up while his opponents trend down. Look at all this space between the graphs. It's crazy. This is an insane graph right here. Just take my word for it. Projections. Derrick Brunson. I like that first. Ooh, look at the 88 in a decision win. Hey, that's not exactly what you want, but I'm definitely going to have both of these guys rostered. You have to. Cannonier for the possible knockout over Brunson. I don't personally see that happening, but, you know, I'm not Marty McFly with my almanac from the future, so it is a possibility. Derrick Brunson for the obvious wrestling upside there. If he gets a couple, 4, 5, 6 takedowns here, that's a ton of points, even in a loss. So I'll be playing both sides of this one. Here are the graphs. Pretty similar, but Brunson's graph sticking out pretty much every point further than Cannonier. And then aggregate win-loss finish rate. I mean, ComputerMonk, from these numbers here, this one's going to finish inside the distance. So, man, I'm really looking forward to this fight. I like Derrick Brunson here a lot. I just feel like his path to victory is a much wider path than Jared Cannonier's is. But that's just one man's opinion. Derrick Lewis going against Tai Tuivasa. Guys, co-main event of the evening. We're at an hour 13. We'll try to get this done under 90 minutes. Hang in there with me. Heavyweight fight. Let's see here. Derrick Lewis, 17-6 in the UFC. He is $8,800 this week. That is $1,100 more than his average salary. You are paying up for Derrick Lewis because of that Tom Aspinall Chris Daukaus knockout. Sorry, Tom. 81 points per win is all that Derrick Lewis scores you. 81 points. That's it. The knockout king. Gives up 98, almost 99 points when he loses. He scores only 1.85 points per minute. That is the lowest ranked number on this card. 2.91 is what he gives up for a negative differential. Has an average value of only 8.03. Not a very prolific scorer is Derrick Lewis. Tai Tuivasa, he's 7-3, $7,400 this week. He is $1,200, almost $1,300 less than his average salary. So you're getting a tremendous value on Tai Tuivasa. Has a value of over 9, 3.2 points per minute with a positive differential. Averages 105 points per win. That is 24 points, almost 23 points more than Derrick Lewis. Gives up 100 when he loses. I don't know what to think about this fight. I personally think that Derrick Lewis is probably going to get it done. There's no way I'm discounting Derrick Lewis. I like Tuivasa a lot. Is he I don't know, man. I guess I'm going to be rostering more Tuivasa than Lewis here, because Lewis just does not score well unless he gets that first round knockout. And that's why, obviously, you have to play some Lewis, but I think I'm going to be more exposed to Tuivasa here. The $8,800 salary is a very bad salary for DraftKings. It does not make the optimal lineup very much. And that's paired with Derrick Lewis scoring only 80 points per win. So I think I'm going to be fading Derrick Lewis here. I will have some of him for that first round knockout upside, obviously, like I just said. But I will probably have a bit more of Tuivasa. Not a ton, but a bit more. Tuivasa, 111 points when he wins by knockout. I mean, this is what I mean. 93 points when Derrick Lewis wins by knockout. 93. 39 when he wins by decision. So this is not a high output guy here. Not at all. And even when he loses by knockout, he gives up only 96. So yeah, not a very prolific scorer here. Tai Tuivasa, on the other hand, let's see, 6 to 7 wins he scored over 90. 5 of them he's put up over 100, and 3 of them he's put up over 110. So Tuivasa, the much better DraftKings scorer for sure. No takedown points though. We're probably not going to see anyone try to get a takedown, I would imagine. I'd be very surprised if that was the case. But if it is, it's going to be Derrick Lewis, probably. Average DraftKings points per win. Let's see here. Derrick Lewis, very low scores, and then the huge bonus here. That's what you tend to expect in Lewis fights. Same with Tuivasa. 82 bonus points per win. He is getting finishes out here. Some relevant fight stats. I mean, much higher volume, as you know, from Tuivasa, but it's that knockout. It's the knockout game from Lewis, obviously. I don't have to tell you that. 4-1 are both of these guys in their last 5. Derrick Lewis with the much better strength of schedule, and it's really not that close. He's better by, 6-7 points all around. The last 5 fights is going to go to Tuivasa, except for that takedown per 15. Minus 4.37, dude. What are you doing? I did hear that he was training his clinch work and whatnot, so we'll see if that's the case. I don't think he'll need it for this fight. But we'll see if that's the case. Look at this power index. 3.26. That is an extremely high number. Like, very, very high. 3.74 for Tai Tuivasa. Almost 50 points better. My God. Derrick Lewis, his only loss coming to Cyril Gane in his last 5. Wins over Daukaus, Blades, Olenek, Latifi. 4 of his last 5 fights have ended by way of knockout. 4 of Tai Tuivasa's last 5 fights have ended by way of knockout. That's going to be 8 of 8 fights, you guys. 8 of 8 ending by knockout in their last 4 apiece. So, wonder what's going to happen in this one. Derrick Lewis, well below his opponents and trending. Actually, he is barely trending up, just ever so slightly, while his opponents do trend down. So I'll give him that. Tuivasa on the other side, above his opponents just barely and trending way up. So you do like to see that. Here are my projections. Very low for Derrick Lewis, as you could imagine, and a bit higher for Tuivasa. The visual statistical recap is going to go to Tuivasa here. Even the finish win percentage, Tuivasa. DraftKings points per win, bonus points per win. Fantastic. You want to have this right side of the graph pushed out as far as you possibly can. That's what I always like to look for. I mean, look at these guys getting finished in 90% of their losses in the UFC, 72% in their career, getting finished wins in 85%, 80%. Yeah, if this one goes the distance, everyone will be pretty surprised, especially me. Guys, last fight of the night, Israel Adesanya, or Adesanya, if you're Mr. 10-7, Ariel Helwani, going against Robert Whittaker. Man, I'm excited for this one. This is a middleweight rematch where Adesanya knocked Whittaker out the first time they fought. I believe the second round. Is it even on here? Yeah, second round. Adesanya 10-1 in his career. He is undefeated at middleweight though. $9,200 this week. So he's only $300 more than his average. So you're getting a decent price on Israel Adesanya. Only scores, this is another one, man, though. Look at this. 2.36 points per minute. You think guys like Adesanya, Derrick Lewis, they're getting all these finishes. They're these prolific fighters. And then you look at the actual numbers, and it's not that at all. 2.36 points per minute, giving up 1.86. So he does, that's the second best number on the card. with a 0.5 differential per minute. That's pretty good. Average value 9.38 even at that high average salary. So you do like to see that. 88.26 points per win. That's it for Israel Adesanya. And he's had like, I think 50% or more of his total fights have been 5-round fights. So these are mostly 5-round numbers right here. 88 points per fight. Gives up 115 in his one loss to Jan Blachowicz. Robert Whittaker, 14-3 in the UFC, $7,000. Did make the optimal lineup in his one fight last year. He is $1,250 lower than his average salary. So if you are on the Robert Whittaker side, you're never going to see him this low again. 7,000? I mean, that's pretty like disrespectful in my, I don't know. Maybe. Let's get into the stats. We won't judge. We don't judge here on the Monk Maddox channel, all right? You do whatever you want. 2.82 points per minute. Gives up 2.19 for a raw DraftKings points per minute differential of 0.63 per minute. Not bad. 9.42 value, so a couple of ticks better than Izzy there on the value. 91 points per win. Again, a very low number for someone who I thought would have a higher number. Gives up just under 100 when he loses. Let's see here. The middleweights finish 54% of the time. The 15th fight, which only happened one time since January 1st, 2021, did make the optimal lineup, so that's why this number is 100%. And then the salary probability of 9,200 wins at a 70% rate. ComputerMonk likes Israel Adesanya by just a hair over Whittaker here. Izzy, when he does win by knockout, a bit better of a number, 109.6 points. Decision wins 77. And like I said, a lot of these decisions are coming in the fifth, 5-round fights. So we're not getting a lot of point output from Israel Adesanya. Not as much as I would like. Robert Whittaker, 111 when he wins by knockout, 80 when he wins by decision. So some okay numbers, but still not great, especially in these 5-rounders. 5 of Izzy's 10 wins, he's put up over 90, and he's put up over 100 actually. And 2 out of 10, he's put up over 110. He's given up, only the one loss to Jan, where, he gave up over 110. Whittaker, almost 43% of the time he scores over 90. 35% of the time he scores over 100, and 28.5% of the time he scores over 110. So that's not terrible. Gives up over 110 in one of his 3 losses, over 102, and over 90 in all 3 of them. So he is consistently giving up a decent amount of points for sure. I mean, over 90 points is a decent amount of points. I mean, it's probably not optimal, but, it's not 60. Israel, no takedown points per minute. None. 0. Whittaker, not really, doing that as much as he probably should. Scores most of his points with striking and knockdown, same as Israel. That is interesting. That's 11.23 points per win, grappling points for Robert Whittaker in his wins. That seems low for me, but I'm not Robert Whittaker, so I'm not going to tell him how to fight. 48 points of bonus points per win, 37 for Whittaker. Giving up 63 when he loses, though. Izzy, only the 1 loss by decision. Some relevant fight statistics. I mean, 80% takedown defense for Israel Adesanya, and that's not a small sample size either. It's like 17 out of like 60 or 70 or something like that. Obviously not 60, but in that range. Whittaker, 83% takedown defense. So, I mean, what are we doing? Whittaker, 0.64 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, and Izzy gets 1.13 landed against him. Izzy with the big, actually they have the exact same striking differential. It must just be, a thousandth of a point difference, which is why it's green over here. But pretty damn close. Whittaker actually landing more per minute than Izzy by over a half a strike. I'm going to have to look at the leg kick situation when we get deep into this one later on in the week. Israel Adesanya, strength of schedule, one of probably the best on the card. Whittaker is 5 points below him at least in every category. Well, 3 in the strength of schedule, but it's not really close. Except for this no defeats. Wait a minute. Why does that say no defeats? Something's happening here. This should not be a no defeats. This should, he obviously lost to Adesanya right here. And then Israel perfect except for Jan Blachowicz, as we said. But I mean, look at this last Whittaker fight, man. Outstruck him by 8 strikes, 2 knockdowns, No takedowns for either side. The tiniest bit of control time up against the cage. But a 25 ass whoop index. I mean, whooped up on him. 106 points in the second round. So that could be a pretty good number if we're looking at something like that again. But look at Robert scoring 121 against Kelvin in a 5-round decision. 88 against Darren Till in a 5-round decision. And 82 against Yoel Romero in a 5-round decision. So what are you going to get out of... I mean, Kelvin Gastelum is probably the... I'm not going to say worst fighter out of those people I just mentioned, but... I mean, he got handled. He's been getting handled. He's like He's won one fight out of his last 5 or something like that. I don't know. He needs some... I'm a Kelvin Gastelum fan. I'm rooting for the guy. Adesanya, above his opponents, but trending down at a pretty steep pace while his opponents trend up as far as scoring goes. So he's going to have to keep an eye on that. This gap is narrowing by the fight. Robert Whittaker above his opponents as well, but trending up while his opponents trend down. He has gotten it under control since that Adesanya fight. Even Yoel Romero scored a bunch of points on him as well. Here are my projections, and look, we have all 5 rounds here, in case you were like, but this is a 5 round. I got you covered, baby. So whatever you think is going to happen, here's how I think it will score. These points are not very high, you guys. I don't know how much of this fight I'm going to have. It's a main event, 5-rounder, so I'm going to have a good chunk of it. Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker. Robert just doesn't go for takedowns as much as I would want him to, man. We'll see if that changes in this fight. Look at this graph. It's almost... Look at this graph. I think I do that once every show. At least. It's almost identical. Virtually identical. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I mean, usually if it's like, you know, the same design, it's kind of a rectangle here, but these are going off in all different directions, and these fighters are pretty closely matched up everywhere. What a good matchup, man. What a good matchup. Kudos to Robert Whittaker for taking the L and battling back and putting himself back in this position. That is very admirable. Very admirable. And then the finish rates right here. We will keep it moving. Guys, we did it. Oh my God. We did it. All 15 fights, we made it through. UFC 271. There are some absolute bangers here. And before I go, as promised, my picks, or ComputerMonk's picks, rather. Here's how I think it's going to score. Oh, shit. There we go. Blue pick means favorite pick. Yellow pick means dog pick. So lots of chalk this week. I'm liking Brunson. ComputerMonk's really liking Brunson here. Liking William Knight, but just by a couple of percentages over Maxim Grishin. And Jacob Malkoun as well over AJ Dobson. Now these could change during the week, but the only things that will make them change are the Vegas odds. I do factor in Vegas odds into my odds. Obviously they're weighted pretty low, they're weighted lower, but a bunch of factors go into my odds, and one of those factors is Vegas odds. So some of these tight lines could change. I'm going to be eyeing Israel. I don't think money's going to come in on Whittaker. I'm going to be eyeing the Tuivasa Lewis fight. That could possibly flip. And I'm also going to be eyeing this William Knight fight for another possible flip, and the Sergey Morozov. I think that one has switched twice since I started doing this. So as of now, and I should color code these as well, Adesanya by decision, Lewis by finish, Brunson by finish, Phillips by finish, Green by decision, Arlovski by finish, O'Neal by decision, Perez by finish, Knight by decision, Lawrence by decision, Moicano by finish, Ulberg by finish, Malkoun by finish, Morozov by finish, Jeremiah Wells by decision. That's how ComputerMonk sees this one this week. So I did want to make sure to show you guys all my picks, or all ComputerMonk's picks. He's picking everything this year. I got no say in it. I don't really disagree with a lot of these. In fact, I love the Derrick Brunson pick. We were going to have problems if he didn't pick Derrick Brunson. Bobby Green's in there. Casey O'Neal. I mean, why wouldn't she be, though? Anyways, I've kept you long enough. We're at 1 hour, 29 minutes. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Game Theory. It really means a lot. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe if you've learned anything at all. I hope I've brought you a ton of DraftKings stats to help you optimize those lineups. Real quick, check out teamriseorfall.com. Put in code MONK and save your butt $10 on a subscription. If you play any kind of DFS, any sport at all, you have to check these guys out. There are so many experts over there that are winning daily. It's crazy what they're winning over there. So teamriserfall.com. Also, Wednesday night, I'll be doing the DraftKings show on Pub Sports Radio with Brady, Uncle Weezy, Luke from SWR Betting. We are going to come together again this week and break down a bunch of value picks, best picks, fades, all that kind of stuff. Give you our optimal lineups included, picks, everything. So be sure to tune in for that. Friday, me and Lou are doing our show, kind of a day before fights type show. Yeah, just tune in for that. Lou handles all the betting stuff. I handle all the DFS stuff, and hopefully we'll give you a different perspective no matter how you're going into the weekend when you're spending your money. So again, check those out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And as always, I want you all to enjoy the fights. So enjoy.